Okay, one more edition of If the Beasts Were Real, how to make mythological creatures somewhat realistic, or could you even do it without magic? I'm doing this off script because this is about dragons, and I figured dragons out a long time ago. I am fully expecting a kitten photobomb. In fact, he's starting to start a fight with his brother right there, so here's a kitten photobomb. There he is. Hello, handsome. He's very playful right now. In the world of the Tainted, I have three separate types of dragons. I have the fairy dragons, which are very small, very colorful. They're somewhat chameleon-like in that they can change their color to match their and camouflage very, very effectively. I also have the fire drakes, which are larger, more, say, Labrador-sized, very, very fast, very lithe. And then we have our full dragons. And they actually have different breeds of those. The original are the blues and greens. Those are just different colors of the same breed. They can interbreed, but they were modified into 4 additional breeds, which are your reds and blacks, which are called magma dragons. And then there are the gold and the silvers, which are called metallic dragons. They are quite different, so I'll go over each of them in their turn as we talk about dragons and whether or not they're realistic. I'll start with my fairy dragons. I was trying to figure out, do they exist without magic? And do dragons even have magic? So when I compared them to a chameleon, their camouflage, well, it's better than a chameleon would be capable of. They are small, they are fast, they are insectivores actually, so nothing about them was otherwise unrealistic. They could absolutely exist except for that camouflage ability. So because of that, I did have to turn to dragon magic to make a fairy dragon function. Otherwise, they are a bit like a really fast on speed with wings, very similar to like bat wings. The fire drakes themselves, there's effectively nothing magic about them. They're light, they're fast, they've got a decent wingspan, they're perfectly capable of flying, no different than a pterodactyl kind of equivalent, except that yes, they have the wings as a separate appendage, so this is a little unusual in that most species on our planet only have 4 limbs, whether that's wings and feet or all feet. But these guys, they do have 6. They have 4 legs and 2 wings. Now, before everyone gets up in arms about that, I will point out that a canon in my world is that dragons actually originated from a different world. They are not Earthborn. To be fair, the world of Taint isn't Earth anyway, but even it was evolutionarily similar. Your drakes and dragons and full dragons all come from another world where the evolutionally was very, very different. So I can make it work from a scientific perspective. Now, in the end, I will admit, I turned to magic for their speed. And that was just actually because I kind of felt like they were being left out. Everybody else of the dragon families had their own magic ultimately, so felt bad for the fire drakes not having any, so I made their speed just a little extra to the point where it became a magical feature. They were carnivores. They eat meat, they hunt, again, similar to a pterodactyl concept. So their dentition and their digestion, their reproduction, all really matches very similar to modern day reptiles. You can basically think of it like a skinny Komodo dragon with wings. And just because I was having fun with AI, this is what you get when you ask it for the anatomy of a dragon. I really don't know what's going on there. I'm not sure what happened to his hand or what those little diagrams are trying to show. It doesn't even try on labeling either. If you zoom in on any of the text, it's like just garbage, but it looked cool. Now let's talk about our full dragons. They are a different beast entirely, and they are larger. I mean, much larger. The base dragons run approximately the size of a van or a small semi-truck. They are capable of flying with the human riders. The next size up, which is your reds and your golds, they are the size of a small house. They definitely are much weightier, huge wingspan. And lastly, I have my silvers and blacks. They are enormous. You're talking the size of a decent sized family home. So they ran into all sorts of physics problems. So the 2 main ones that I had to figure out when it came to dragons was their ability to fly and their ability to breathe fire, because my other 2 species don't breathe fire. Let's start with fire. I had different ways of potentially working out this problem. I grew up on Flight of Dragons, so if anyone hasn't seen that, please take a moment to go find it. It is funny, highly entertaining, and also incredibly geeky at the same time. It actually pits a scientist against a warlock. And yes, the scientist wins. And it's amazing as they try to bring science into a full-fledged fantasy world through a portal story. In that particular example, they have the dragons fly by consuming stones that then create a hydrogen gas when combined with other stones in their belly, and acid, I think, which makes them effectively inflate. Now, where does this come into fire breathing? Well, that's how they land. They breathe out the hydrogen gas and use a spark-like point on the back of their mouth to ignite it to control their landing. Their wings are effectively used to steer, and that is all. From a physics perspective, cute. Probably not actually effective, because quite frankly, the amount of hydrogen gas you need to move a beast of that size, assuming you have organs and other features in there as well, let alone a meal and a pile of rocks, is probably not real actual physics, but it's a neat idea regardless. And it does answer the question both about flying and about breathing fire. Now, the other breathing fire idea I really liked was actually from Reign of Fire, which was a movie I saw years ago. Great concept, a little rough around the edges. Don't know how highly I recommend it, but it was interesting from a fantasy perspective. It's a post-apocalyptic. We woke up the dragons, and now most of civilization is doomed. They actually used a double liquid combination to create fire. So two different glands produce two different chemicals. When they spray together and actually combine outside the dragon's mouth, they become a plume of fire. It's more like napalm as opposed to a flammable gas. So I had the choices. Those are some neat ideas when it comes to creating fire and how you have a fire-breathing dragon. I actually decided to kind of steal from both a little bit. I have my dragons producing a gas. They have their own gland that produces the gas, and then they expel it. And then, yes, there's a small pop you'll hear, which is them igniting it using a secondary gland. And, of course, there are plenty of animals that can produce an electric charge. So well within physics limitations. And we do have glands that can produce gas if you think of something like the swim bladder of fish. Now, obviously, that's not usually a flammable gas, but there could be some mechanisms in there to allow us to have something like that. So that's my breathing fire. My dragons are capable of expelling of gas from their mouth and then igniting it using an electric charge. That doesn't answer, though, because I'm not using hydrogen to make them lighter, how they fly. At the smaller size, it would be potentially feasible. If you want more on that, check out the Griffin conversation earlier about how big you can be and still fly, based on real life examples, or at least past examples. However, I couldn't make it big enough. There was no way for me to have a dragon as big as a large house actually fly. I went as far as looking into bird bone structure, which yes, they do have, and bird bones are not fully hollow, guys. They do have a structure to them, but even with that into consideration, the sheer size of my dragons made zero sense when it came to actual flying. And so unfortunately, I turned around and said, well, they have dragon magic. That was it at the end of the day. I had to have dragon magic. It had a trickle-down effect to the other dragons. If I presumed that they all came from the same world and they all had some kind of common ancestor, if one could do magic, why couldn't the others? So I gave them each their own little special ability that would be caused by magic. Dragons have other instincts and other connections in my world. They are somewhat telepathic. They have a connection and a song that they use, so they have additional senses that humans do not. In fact, a lot of their speech cannot be translated into human speech because humans literally cannot hear half the sounds they are making. That's why you have to use, again, magic to even understand them. If you're wondering about that, that would be Dragon's Voice, the first book I released, which was a young adult coming-of-age story with a sarcastic hero well over his head very rapidly after he steals the wrong amulet, and now he can understand the dragons, including the enormous house-sized ones. So there you have it, dragons in full, based on the ones that I have researched or looked into for my own stories. Can dragons exist without magic? No, not after a certain size level. Although I think we got around the whole fire breathing thing. Okay, so dragons. In my series, there are... He's trying to... Never mind. This is going in the blooper reel, sir. Keep walking. I swear it's like having a child in the house. No, don't eat that. With a kitten. Stop it. He's eating my book. Do it! Oh my gosh, you are a dink. Is this how they're gonna keep you still? Is this it? I have to spend my whole time petting you while I talk about dragons? That's what we're gonna do. Okay, we'll try that. They can be insectivores as well, but generally speaking, you'd have to eat a whole swarm. I'm not even gonna include that. That was useless. In the world of the tainted, I have actually 3 sort of different types of dragons. They are different breeds completely. They cannot interbreed. So we have the fairy dragons, which are very small, very lithe. He is currently playing with the other cat's tail. You little dink. Stop it. The kitten just got a soft correction from the adult cat. So that should get him behaving for now.